In this video, we're going to look at the request for quote process. This is something available to the planners within Sabre ETO. The goals of this video are going to be how to create a purchase quote, how to view purchase quotes on a job, how to make the quote an order, and then updates to the planning along the way. So with the request for quote, or the RFQ process within Sabre ETO, this gives users the ability to create purchase quotes and link them to the job. So on the planning lines, you'd have the ability to be able to see which quotes have been created. You can drill into them. You can also see through the disposition status on the line that there has been quotes placed for this line so that you haven't yet purchased it. You can create multiple quotes for vendors in one step. So in native Business Central, you would have to create individual quotes that are basically the exact same information. They would just be to different suppliers in the header. So within this process, when we click the request for quote, we can select multiple vendors and it will actually produce individual documents. We have the ability to update the planning line as the quote stages progress. So if you've seen other Sabre ETO videos, you'll notice that on the line there is something called the disposition status, which can let other planners and designers know exactly how the demand is going to be met for this line. So as it's in the purchase quote stage, you'd see RFQ in the disposition status, but without having to manually do any updates to this field, if you progress that quote to an order, we'll see the status update to purchase and so on. And we also have the ability to continue to see the progress as the quote becomes an order. So again, we've added additional fields to the BOM planning line so that you can see the other quotes that were there. If it becomes a purchase order, you'll see the purchase order that it became, the dates it's expected to be released, etc. So let's jump in and take a look at that within the system. So here I am inside of Business Central using the web version. So I'm going to jump here to the BOM planning lines. And we can see here that we've got some lines here that we have not seen our disposition status, so we're going to decide that in these cases, maybe some of these lines we want to get a purchase quote. So if we scroll over, we can see here if we've got any inventory on hand. We can see here if there's a primary vendor that's associated to the line. So certainly for lines, we can see that there's a primary supplier and then still choose to go out and get quotes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select maybe just this first line here. Even though it's got a vendor number associated to it, I'm going to still shop around a bit. So I'm going to highlight the line here. I can see that I need to get a quantity of 4, and it's for the 1920-S item. Now I'm not able to go ahead and create my request for purchase quote unless there's plan ready marked on the line. So this is sort of to further speak to this approval process or this flow that we've developed within Sabre ETO. So you'll notice that if I try at this point to do the request for quote process, so under actions, procurement, request purchase quote, it tells me plan ready must have a value in the line. So in this case, this would mean that a designer has not pass this line on to me. So because I'm both, I can just click on plan ready here, and under actions, procurement, request purchase quote, the system's now saying, do you want to create a new purchase quote or do you want to append to an existing purchase quote? So I have the option here to create a brand new document, or if I know that I've got an existing purchase quote that I want to just keep adding to on an ongoing basis, I can do that. So if I indicate append to an existing purchase quote and say OK, the system would bring me up a list of purchase quotes that were available. If I were to say OK, it would just add a line for the 1920-S for a quantity of 4, and I could either keep building that quote through other planning lines or I could send that quote. I'm going to press cancel because what I want to do is I want to show you guys that it will create a brand new quote document. So one of the things just to highlight as well is you'll notice that we've added a new column called purchase quote numbers. So we can see for this line that we do not have any existing purchase quotes that have been created, and we can also see that the disposition status is blank. So under actions, procurement, request purchase quote. I'm going to select a new purchase quote. I'll say OK. So the system brings up a list of your suppliers, and now what you can do is holding the control key. You could select as many vendors as you want. You could select just one. You can deselect vendors if you accidentally select them by mistake. So once I select my vendors and I say OK, in this case now the system's going to create me 2 purchase quotes, one for Fabricam and one for Graphic Design Institute. The second thing it's going to do is it's going to update the disposition status on my line. And the third thing it's going to do is it's going to show me the quote numbers that are associated to this planning line. So I can see here 2 purchase quotes have been successfully created. And again, using native Business Central, the process would have been that you had to, put this planning line onto, say, a second screen or minimize the page. We would have had to navigate to the purchase quotes page, clicked new, selected the vendor, added the line, added the quantity, added any information, any notes that we wanted. Then we would have had to do that a second time for the second supplier that we wanted to send the purchase quote for. So you can see that this was a much quicker, much easier process. So if I say OK, I can now see on the line that this line is out for quoting. And if I scroll over, I can see here the 2 quotes that have been associated to the line. So then from here, I can click to open up those records. So here's the first quote that was created. If I want to, I can then open that up. And here I can add notes. I can use my send an email function. I can send this off. Maybe I want to clear out the existing direct unit costs. Maybe I can get a little bit cheaper if they don't know what they're charging me for now. And then I can send this off. I would take my second line. Again, I can navigate line card to drill into the purchase quote that was created. And here I can see the second purchase quote that was created. And again, maybe I want to clear out the direct unit cost. Maybe I want to add a comment. Whatever the case may be, and then I can send it off. So let's fast forward a little bit and pretend that our vendor has come back, they've given us our dollars, and we have now picked a quote that we want to make an order. So again, ability to make the purchase quote an order, that's native within Business Central, obviously. But when you do this process, again, we can see that you've got the disposition status on the line that progresses. You have the ability to see any outstanding quotes for the job, even though they're no longer needed. So in that purchase quote field that we were looking at, the quote that we make an order goes away, but we'll still see any other quotes as long as they stay in our purchase quote screen. So if we wanted the history to be able to see other quotes that had been sent out for that line, we would have that history. And then, as I mentioned, the disposition status would change on the line. So let's see what that looks like inside the system. So as I just showed you, you could be already on the BOM planning line and you could just drill in and navigate into the purchase quote. More than likely, you won't be in the job. So what you can do is you can always just use your basic navigation here, and we're going to search for purchase quotes. We would find the quote that was related to that job. So let's say Fabricam came in, they were what we wanted to go with. So we can always update this whatever we want. So if you want to change the quantity by a little bit more, maybe we want to indicate they gave it to us for $750 per, so it's updated the quote value. And then this is just your native Business Central purchase quote. So any of the functionality that you had within a purchase quote within Business Central before, you still have that now. The key thing though is that this purchase quote is linked back to that job. So what I would do at this point is under Process, Make Order. Standard process, do you want to convert the quote to an order? Yes, I do. So this quote was now converted into a purchase order. I could open that up if I want. So if I say yes to that, we'll see that this purchase order was created, and we'll also see on the line that it has the job related to it. And we can see, like I said, the job number, the job task number. So because this is now a purchase order, if I navigate into the job, I should see that disposition status update. So again, I'm going to search for jobs. I'll open the job that I was doing my quoting from. So I can see here that the line has now updated, my color is updated because it's been purchased, it's purchased on time. So I can see here that status update. My quantity is still the same. I've got the vendor. So this is the vendor number that was the primary vendor, not to be confused with the fact that I actually bought this from Fabricam. So, you have the ability to update this if you want to, but just something to note. So the purchase quote numbers, I now see the 1008, which is the ability to be able to see the outstanding purchase quote that I did not convert. Again, as long as that purchase quote stays there, I have that history. Some people like to delete the quotes once they know they're no longer valid or archive them. That is sort of what I call business decision. And now that it's become a purchase order, I can see the purchase order number on the line. I can see which line number on the purchase order this bond line is for. The status is open, so if you're using the open and release status, it gives you the ability to be able to see that purchase order has been created, but it's not released yet, so it may not be sent to the supplier, which might be a positive thing if you're appending future purchases to the same PO. You would then have the ability to be able to see that, hey, this is something that I could continue to add to. You can see that the purchase order, what the date was,